Hey, I'm Dan from Real Mac Software and welcome to this week's Elements Developer Diary. Now I've got quite a few things to show you this week, but first I want to answer a question from the forum, and that was, will all Elements sites look the same? Will you be able to tell they're built with Elements? And the short answer to that is no, and I can understand why this question came up, and it is because I'm building all the sites. Like in these demo videos, I'm always putting these together and they tend to look quite similar, or kind of a smooth, clean aesthetic style. But it's really down to who creates them. You can create whatever you want. So I think when this is out in the wild, we'll see a vast array of different sites. So I've put together a site that's a bit more wacky than my usual style, just to kind of give you an idea that you can build whatever you want, and this is the site here. So we've got plenty of GIFs here and some nice rollover buttons and things, and some stars and a big footer, animated GIFs in the background, some bold, sharp corners and some shadows. Kind of different to what I've designed before, but it's just to kind of show you that it really is up to you. So now I'm going to dive in and just show you a couple of the things we've added recently. First of all, I'm going to show you some shadow stuff on the fonts, and then I've got some responsive image stuff I want to show you. So we'll get to that in a minute. Right, so first I've got my heading selected here. And previously you could apply shadows to images and sections, but now we've got text shadow support. So I can pick any one of these here. That's quite a subtle one, 2XL. There we are. So that is using the same shadow as these sections. But we'll move it to test, and then which is looking a mess. I admit that it looks a mess, but we can fix that. So in the shadows area of the Theme Studio, we can go in and let's start customizing our shadow. Let's remove that that blurred one, and we want to change the color of this. So I'm going to go with a white for that one, and going to bring that closer in a little bit, and then let's do that at 4 and 4, and then I'm going to create another shadow, and this one I want to be kind of a dark yellow, I think. So let's do that, and I don't want a blur on it, and we kind of I kind of want that at 2 and 2. Let's make that a bit cleaner. So there you go. You can see there we've got that nice double drop shadow, and I can play around with that. I could blur that. You can have a lot of fun with this and create a lot of cool looking shadows. We could move that further away, things like that. So it's really easy to play with this stuff. Let's move that to 4. So these are all the shadows, and I can apply these to images, sections, anything I want. And now text is supported as well. So those are, and these are all my shadow presets that I've built up here. And you can, as I've demoed before, you can, I can just hit plus and do a new one, and I can create as many of these as I like. We can add some more there. If you haven't seen these videos before, or the shadow video, then this is pretty cool stuff. And I can also do inner shadow, so double click, and now I've got an inner shadow. So this is really powerful and a fun way to mess around with shadows and create really unique looking sites as well. So that is text shadows. And one of the other things we've done, as we're working through all these elements, we're starting to go back through what we originally created and start to polish and refine it. And that's where a lot of these settings come from, when we realize things are missing. Like we've now got a fill for the text, so you can put a background image on there or a gradient, which is cool. So that's very easy to do now. And we've started organizing them into sections. So we've got our media down here, then we've got layouts, you've got your containers, your flexes, grids and sections. Then we've got this general elements area, which we haven't, I think this will be broken down a little bit more, but this is just our catch-all area at the moment. And then we've got an effects area for things that manipulate the elements on the page. Again, this is a work in progress. This is all likely to change, but this is kind of where we're going, how we're organizing these things and where we're headed. Right. What else? Let's have a look. So I was going to show you how quickly we can just change the look of this, because this is a bit of a gnarly website, and I'm going to run through this quick. So how we could just completely change the look of this very quickly. So I'm going to change my border radius here on everything. This is on, I have this on buttons here and this button here and these things. So I can just curve this, and you can see these things here. As I do that, we've now got everything curved, which looks good. The shadows, I can, again, let's get rid of this, remove that one, and we'll make that soft. So now you can see we've got a soft shadow there. The colors, we're using yellows here, so I could quickly, I could go and change that. We want to change that to something a bit more professional. So I'm going to go with a kind of blue color. And then we can, I'm just going to get rid of that, and we'll go, let's go there, and we'll make this a light color as well. So very quickly, we're starting to make our site look a little bit more, well, different, you know, professional. And I can do this and bring that there. Or on this one here, I could just, I can get rid of that, or I can go transparent, and we could get rid of the, whoops, let me disclose those again. We could get rid of the shadow, so I'll just pick none. And now that's a different header. And let's have a look. I'll get rid of this paintbrush because that is a bit jazzy, and we don't need the flex item. And now that is there. We've got that, you know. So this is starting to look a little bit different now to what we had. Very quick to play with these things and change the look of the site. And again, let's just, we can change that to, let's just change that to a large shadow. So very quickly, I can flip back to the other one. So there's our site there. And then we made some changes in a few seconds, I don't know, under a minute, whatever. And it's already starting to look different. So this, you know, so you really can customize your site however you like. Right, so let's get on to images, because this video's been going a while already. So this was the one I had. This is similar to the page I had last week that I was demoing. And one of the things I forgot to demo here is we were talking about overlays, and you can overlay a color, and that's pretty cool. But what I did miss is that you can actually blur this. You can blur the video, which is really, really cool. So we can add a blur effect, and we can add an overlay effect. You know, if we want to make that text more legible, super blurry. So that, you know, and this is all happening in real time in edit mode, which is quite phenomenal, really. There we go. So you can see that still happening, and that's blurred. But let's get on to images, because I wanted to show you how the responsive images works, or really how what we've done with the image element. And things are still developing, and we're still working on this, and we've got more changes to make. But again, this is just a kind of a peek into what we're doing. So I've got an image up the top here, and I've set the size. I can actually resize it. Like if I pick original, that's not working there. Let me re-drop that back in. If I pick original, it's just going to use that original site, that original image size. So when I export it, it will be exactly the image I dropped in. But what we can do, we can also resize it, and I can set that to 100. Now this will actually physically resize the image. So we're doing that in RapidWeaver now. So when I export this site, this image will be 100 pixels wide. So if I go up here, export site, let's do test export, and let's export the site there, and it's doing that. Done. Now let's go and have a look in here, and if I go to my resources, I've got my original elements image there, and I've got my scaled one at 200. and it's at 200 because by default we double this because that is kind of the display, so it's actually exporting it at Retina. So that's at 200 there, but it names it nicely. You know, it's kept the original image name and it's exported it with an at 200, so that's super handy and super helpful. Names it correctly, and that's great. And that's just resizing it on the fly in here. And best of all, we can do this for different breakpoints. And let's get a grid in here. So I'm going to drop a grid in, and we'll have a look at we don't need that item, and we don't need that one. Let's make this 8, and we'll put this one up to 4 there. So this is super easy to, if you've not seen the grid item video, you should really watch that because this is really powerful stuff. And we've done more things with the grid since that, but you can see it's all WYSIWYG, which is amazing. So I'm going to drop some images in here. We're going to drop those in there. And let's go back to our resources, and I've got some photos, so let's drop those in. Now these photos here, they're not huge, but they are too big for a website. This is 1.5 meg, so 2,500 pixels. So it's pretty big, and possibly too big for my website. You know, I wouldn't want to, let's leave those on original there. I wouldn't, you know, you wouldn't want to just, if I just drop this in here, and we'll drop this one in there. If I export the site now, again, let's go test export. These are going to be the original size, so they'll keep the names and resources, photos. Oh, yeah. So this is just, you know, there's no changes there. It's just exporting what is in my resources area, so no changes to them. And yeah, I should have said, obviously they are same size, so Rapidweaver has not touched them because they're the original, which is obviously too big for this. So what we can do, again, we can say, you know, at this largest size, maybe I only want this image to be 600, or maybe we need it a bit bigger, 700. So that's resized it to 700, but it's going to be using it for all breakpoints. So actually, let's size the one here. Let's say, you know, on mobile, I want that image to be 400. Then as we get larger, maybe as I get to this one, I want to override this, and I want that to be 700. So now Rapidweaver is going to export 2 images there for me, one at the mobile size 400 and one at the 700, and that obviously picks out the image for the right breakpoint, which is really powerful stuff. So let's export that again. Test export in there. And you know, Rapidweaver's doing this on the fly as you're editing it. So if we go and look at our photos, now we've got our original, and we also got our 002 at 800 and at 1400. And that's because it's because it does it for Retina, because pretty much the people who are using non-Retina is very small. So at the moment we're optimizing for Retina screens. So you want that to be at double size. And the cool thing here is if I, you know, I can rename this, and this is cliffs, and we'll call this one trees. When I export this again, it's updated all the references in my site. Everywhere where this image was used, it's going to reuse this, and it will just work like magic. So that's going to export all those. And now if we go and look in here, oops, I want my resources, my photos, and now you'll see I've got the cliffs at 800 and at 1400, and the trees we haven't resized that, so it's left it at the original size, but it's changed the name. So Rapidweaver is really smart now. It tracks these file names I mean, it did before, but this is in comparison to stacks. If you're used to stacks, kind of re-garbling your names and not keeping the originals, Elements does that. So one last option I wanted to show you here on this one. What we can also do, instead of the original or doing it custom, we can pick device. And what device does, it takes that image and it creates representations for each device we have set up, each breakpoint here. Now these breakpoints, now there is a bug because I've my theme studio is not working there. Let's reopen that Flex site. Or maybe that has become corrupt, which is not very good for a demo, is it? Oh, there we are. No, it's probably just saving. So let's reopen that and get it back. Merge all windows. That is the fun of doing live demos. And, you know, I don't edit these things. So when things go wrong, they just go wrong. And there we are. So, and this is beta software. Right. So where were we? Yeah. So if I open up my devices and look at the screens that I have set up, these ones are active. You can see them along here, and I can, if you've not, again, because you might not have seen the video I did on responsive breakpoints, you can set those up in here, and the pixel widths of each device are set here. So, you know, so we could make this one down to 800, and that's changed the size of it there. Change the size of the breakpoint. So now that this is, I have this on device, this is a very simple way to make sure you're resizing your images and getting them correct for each responsive design. So let's export this and see what I'm jabbering on about. So let's pick test export. And now hopefully when we go and look at the trees photo, you can see it's created us these other representations of the image. So it's created all the images we need for each breakpoint, which is great. So it's serving up the correct image at the correct size. And this will really help with your Google page speeds and things like that. And obviously if people are loading your site on mobile, they only load the small representation. They don't need to load that massive file that would be great on desktop. So your sites will load faster as well. So this is really good stuff. And RapidWeaver takes care of it for you. So that's some of the work we've been doing there. We've not quite finished on this, but you can see it's really shaping up really nicely and kind of giving you the power to decide how much control you want. You know, whether like on this example, I've just set a 400 and a 700 image, and that's all I need. And I know that's the sizes I want, but for this one, I wasn't sure. And I just set it on device. And that way I know it's probably doing better than if I'm in a hurry and I'm not resizing my images. At least RapidWeaver is scaling it down. You know, if I drop in a 6,000 by 6,000 image that is megs and megs, I can drop it straight in here and I know RapidWeaver will take care of it and make it a sensible size for me. So yeah, so that's images. There's more stuff to go over there, like the aspect ratios and things like how it displays. But I'll save that for another time because this video has been long enough. And yeah, so I hope you like what I've showed you this week. I'm sure you'll have questions and suggestions about stuff that I've demoed. So please do leave that in the comments on YouTube or the comments on the forum where this will be posted. All right, that's enough for this week. Thanks for watching as always, and I'll see you again next week. All right, thanks. Bye.